Hi, welcome to our podcast by the Poor for the Poor. My name is Tanya Matinge and I am a deficient economist. Deficient economists like myself, we decided that we're going to build economic models for a portion of the population, the world population. So we have 80% or 90%, if I'm to be conservative, of people who are waiting. They are actually watching the economy spiraling, but they cannot participate in it because the economists like myself, we designed models that are limited. We designed models that only cater for 10% of the population. So we designed models that were based on assumptions that are baseless. And the reason for that is because we decided we were too lazy to question. We were too lazy to actually understand the things we cannot understand. So we decided it is easier to have certainty. It is easier to know that 1 + 1 is 2, and then we do not have to question whether 1 + 1 could actually be 5. So because of our gullible nature, for the obsession for certainty, we excluded 90% of our populations. So they have the obligation to sit and wait and hope. Because the privileged economists like myself, we are so selfish because we think that since we have the privilege, there is no need to go and get the other people who do not have the same privilege, who do not have even the hope, the expectation that they could actually ever participate in the economies. And when, in fact, what we forget is that the people that we've left behind, they're part of our function, they're part of our families, they're part of us. We're actually one ecosystem of people who has had access and has decided that, well, actually, we are going to have enough for ourselves. Curious enough, we don't take anything when we die. We leave all of it behind. But we decided that we're going to accumulate wealth and we will not bother about the people that we left behind. And poverty is actually a decision that we took. We decided, you know what, actually, there's some countries that are poor, there's some countries that are wealthy, there's some countries that are rich. It was a decision because all of economics, all of science, all of statistics, all of mathematics is based on assumptions. It's based on an assumption. So the question that I'm asking is, if we're basing everything on an assumption, why can we not make assumptions that favor 100% of the populations? Why can we not make assumptions that are favorable? But here's the thing, and I believe that the reason we don't do that is because we believe that unless there's people who are inferior and people who are superior, we cannot survive. So if we were to change the story, the scenario, and say, let the 10% of the people who are privileged go and live in the rural areas just for a day. Let me not stretch it to a week or a month. Just for a day, they will not survive. So the question is, who is really poor? Who is really poor? Because the 80% who've been left behind, they've been surviving for hundreds and hundreds of years. And they're still there because they are wealthy in spirit. They are wealthy in morality. We have to get to a point where our moral values are so high, we are not comfortable to go and sleep when other people are dying from lack of food, basic food. So I'm going to read one of the notes that has been taken from my book, actually, Ignorance Applied, because I'm arguing that if we can be ignorant and accept that we don't know anything, then maybe we can fix things. If we can be ignorant, if we can accept that it's actually ignorance, there's power in ignorance, there's power in not knowing, then we can begin to design models that are beneficial to everybody. Because the way we measure economics, I mean, when we talk about gross domestic product, we economists, we only measure the things that are measurable. So the things that are not measurable, we decided to exclude them. And by excluding them, we've excluded the rest of the populations. Because we cannot understand it, we do not include it in the basket. So when we measure GDP, and I ask myself, what if we were to measure the wealth of countries on the basis of culture and happiness, who would be poor? Who would be wealthy? If we were to measure not on the basis of gross domestic product, but on the basis of gross domestic culture, gross domestic happiness, You know, when you travel in Europe and you scream or you laugh, you will have people calling for the policeman because they think this is not normal. This is the African laughter. There is power in African culture. There is power in African happiness. There is power in African spirit, but it's the African that has been denoted as poor. Who is rich and who is poor? If we changed the way we measure things, if we acknowledged the things that are not measurable, are we going to get to the same conclusions? I want to read something that was written here by Hardy. Hardy says in his work, A Mathematician's Apology, he says this boldly, he says that the mathematics of renowned mathematicians like Fermat, like Euler, like Gauss, like Abel, like Riemann is largely useless, both in applied and pure mathematics. I will repeat this. Hardy is arguing that the statisticians, the scientists, all of those designs are baseless. They are useless. He says both in applied and pure mathematics. This perspective aligns with Nassim Nicholas Taleb's critique, where he says the bell curve as a creation primarily rooted in gambling. So all of economics is based on a gamble. So there is no difference between us economists and gamblers and witch doctors. It's guesswork. So we decided that because we don't know a few elements, we're going to exclude them. We're going to eliminate them. It's all a gamble. So my question is, where did the love go? The patriotism, the love that we have for each other, where did it go? Because it is on the base of the foundation of love that we can have economies that are fulfilled for every human being on earth. They are waiting. They are waiting for us to lift them from poverty. See you next time.